Mark.
Hey guys, I'm trying to set up my Bluetooth real quick. Sorry about this.
That's all
No
right.
problem.
That's
Mark, can you see
all
him?
right. Yeah, I can see him. Can you see him?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, awesome. That's what's
Yes,
important.
I can.
Let
Well,
me.
it's nice to have you here.
Yes, it's a pleasure having you, Mark.
Yeah,
Pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me, guys. I really appreciate this. It's very kind of you.
absolutely. You're a legend.
No way, man.
Seen you. I've seen you for a long time, man, on YouTube. A lot.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I appreciate
well,
your
Sure.
content.
it takes you be in the black market for a long time. You never know really what to like post, and then you can step out of the black market, and then
Mm.
there's years of like, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't talk about anything, but this, and then you kind of start to be like, you know what, we really need to be just sharing more information because you see all these practices where, I spent 5 years of my life traveling to 70 plus grow rooms a year on this big massive circular pattern, and you see all these growers doing different things, and you just kind of start to recognize, okay, this is the right way to do it, and this is the wrong way to do it, and yeah, and now I really love to source that information, those thoughts and memories, and share them, while also being able to compare them to our own farm
Absolutely.
throughout the years.
Awesome, awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but
That's
we
awesome.
we kind of we like talking about the plant, and but more so we like talking about this organic growing, um
Yeah. Are you
clean smoking. Sometimes a lot of people get intimidated from organic growing, um and from my perspective, and
they almost
um
don't like it. They're like shy
but
away. They
yeah,
almost
so
don't.
we want to just kind of hear more about like how to make it easier as a home grower growing organically, and and also for new growers.
I if anything, I'd love to talk about the psychology a little bit, right? On
Yes.
why I think people d- why people don't convert over, and there's a number of reasons, and why they're either slow to adapt and give up on it, or whatever. So the main thing is we're used to instant gratification, right? And
Hmm.
that's one big thing. Another big thing is a lot of people that get started in growing, they're normally given a plant by a friend or something, and then they have to run out and grab soil, buy all this equipment, and it's really funny. One plant's given, and then they spend $1,000 the next day, never really thinking about it, and so they're in this panic situation where they have to give something to their plants immediately for them to, or they think that or feel that to make things to start to work,
Yeah.
right? And then from that process, um, from also being years, I mean, just years of their own experience with being with the plant, there's there's thoughts of like, um, maybe people will start coughing a lot, and they're like, "Man, this is some really good stuff," but they might not be realizing that the coughing could be coming from the chemicals that were being used to grow the plant,
Absolutely.
and then they smoke something, and there's no cough. It gets them higher than crazy, right? And they have this insane psychedelic experience, and they're like, "Whoa, I didn't. My throat doesn't hurt. It's not raspy. I don't feel like I have to drink water, and I got this super intense experience, right, on the plant." And so, it's. I think there's a lot of past experiences when you've been using this plant for such a long time, um, that we need to let go of, and we need to start to kind of have like smoke something that is clean, and then be like, oh wow, okay, I'm starting to realize that the difference between clean medicine and medicine that might has been that might have been, chemicals were used to grow it. So
Yeah, you can taste it. Sorry.
you could taste it. Well, for me, I can notice it in the back of my throat.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I normally, whenever I'm smoking the club herb, because it might be the only thing that's available, I normally, after about a month, have to gargle with oregano oil,
wow.
because some type of like, I don't know what it is. It might be, maybe might be a little bit of, I don't know what it is, but it's something that always kind of builds up, and I kind of get a little mucus build up, and then I have to gargle with oregano oil, and it goes away.
Mm-hmm.
But that isn't with medicine that I know that hasn't not, like no pesticides been used, like no neem oil, no maybe oil-based pesticides, or even like just chemies, right? You could just something is everyone notices things, right? So, and for me, I'm a our family. We always say we're artistic, autistic people, so we're super hypersensitive to certain feelings, and through that process of being like, okay, this is good, this is not good. How do we make the best? And okay, and so now it's beyond just making it the best. It's also an ethical situation, right? Where you
Yes.
have once you like
What's up, bud?
establish your own core values as a grower and as an individual, and you start running all your decisions through your values filter, you then start to realize like, okay, everything you make, everything you touch in your life is going to be a reflection of your own core values and your own essence as a human being. And
Mm-hmm.
so you just start to naturally gravitate to these other directions. So that's all one part. And then the other part is a lot of people are set up their entire facilities for growing for a specific growing method, and liquid fertilizer nutrients is sometimes the only way they can provide nutrients because of the size pots or their infrastructure, like maybe it's Grodan or not hydroton, but rock wool or something. So they're set up to have to do this, but it doesn't mean that they can't still have a relationship with living organisms in their system to
Mm-hmm.
enhance both the salt base and the um, living biology, because both of these things can enhance each other. They just it's just important about understanding when one is too much for the other.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do people have such a problem with the salt with this salt thing?
Well, I think it's
What?
I think in big part it's there's a misconception, I think, with salts. Like I want you to know, like I'm not against salts. Half of my growers use salt fertilizers, and when they come to me and I get them to back down the salts and use living organisms, and they have a co-relationship where we see higher yields, we see higher benefits, but
Yeah.
um, I think it's but if I had the opportunity to get to them before they set up their whole infrastructure, they're going all living soil, right? It's because
Yeah.
they're once you kind of get in the process of making your own products internally in
Gotcha.
your
Right.
own operation, that's where you really produce something that nearly free, and you're able to maximize your return on investment. And that's where my mindset's a lot with my customers, is making sure they're staying in operations.
Absolutely. I think people they say, what's up, bud, says people overuse salts. I wasn't really hip on salts until I realized Epsom salt was a salt. Did it? They said people overuse salts. Most people do it to the point it's left a bad taste in their mouth, literally. So, you know, I taste a lot of stuff that I haven't grown when I run out of things that I have grown. And you can taste, if my wife was in here, like the taste of this one weed that was brought from Rochester. It was so bad. Like I've never tasted anything like it. It's crazy, and I'm not talking about for a good thing. You wonder what did they use to make it have this. It has this. It's just a chemically taste, and it's real bad. It's nasty. And like you said, go ahead, go ahead.
Well, well, I apologize to interrupt you. I get so excited, so forgive
Yeah,
me on that.
oh, don't apologize. You're fine.
There is a part of um, so so all of the heavy metals. Do you okay? So there's something that is not talked about much at all in the industry, and it's something that I harp on a lot is heavy metals and pesticides and fungicides in the
Oh,
industry and the remediation of these things.
oh
But
yeah.
99% of every fertilizer you touch, also dry amendments, I mean, everything. It doesn't matter what, if you're using living soil, all this stuff is riddled with heavy metals, right? And they're
Really?
locked up. Oh yeah, absolutely. This is, I mean, the
Oh,
if you actually went to
wow.
these companies and they gave you the actual lab analysis, because think about let's say they're using a fish byproduct, right? So go onto Google and just type in heavy metals accumulated in fish. Just type that in, right? So now they're using
Okay.
fish, or they're using some type of a fish amendment, or to dehydrate it, put it into a dry amendment, and sell it back to you. So that all these things are filled with heavy
Mm.
metals.
Oh wow.
When you look at, I don't want to detour too much, but this is one point. When you actually look at the soil biology and underneath the microscope, and we have video of this
Oh,
with John White
wow.
on one of our videos, you can see how fast bacteria travel along the xylem in the plant, right? But then when you introduce heavy metals, or you introduce salt-based input fertilizers in a liquid feed over 900 parts per million, it makes the bacteria going that, let's say it's going like this on speed, it now slows it down to the point where it's going like this, right?
Mm.
So it significantly slows down the bacteria's ability for movement and enzyme production. So that's one thing. The second thing is that all of the heavy metals that the bacteria accumulate, because bacteria are not, they say that plants are bioaccumulators, which are true, but that's actually not the case. The plants are the filters, the bacteria are the bioaccumulators that bioaccumulate these things into the plants because their job is to clean the soil, right? So these heavy metals, though, where they're accumulated in our plant, are in the trichomes, in the very tip of all the oil. So what we're smoking are heavy metals, and that's what you are experiencing when you have that metallic taste. Is that when they
Yeah.
use all this fertilizer,
Right,
they're
right,
using heavy metals that are being accumulated
right.
and put into the trichomes of the
And
plant.
that's what I was tasting in
Wow.
the smoke at the dispensaries. And I thought it was my feelings for a minute after because
Yeah.
I have fillings in my teeth, so I'm thinking like, what's that metal taste that
Yeah.
I'm getting? It's a reaction from when I'm smoking it, but it's you can taste it
So
um
bad.
right off the bat. And it just doesn't sit well with me. You know, anything
Mhm.
I question anything man made a lot.
Me too.
But then I also go back to nature. I'm a naturistic when it comes to things making sense. I go back to nature, and it just makes sense just to put things that decompose in the soil. You know what I mean?
Shout
To
out Pico.
to,
He
to
is in
help
the building.
because that's what happens in nature. Am I right? Or
Actually,
So
I mean,
you're okay. So let's go back and talk a little bit more, because, and I'm answering your question with just relating it to you realizing it yourself, right? So we know the bacteria slow down when you introduce heavy metals. So
right?
when we smoke these heavy metals, or we eat the food that are riddled with pesticides and fungicides, so our microbiome in our gut are is full of bacteria. So what do those heavy metals possibly do to the microbiome in our gut biology?
right. I was going to ask you that. Yes.
So then now we take that thought and we move on to now these heavy metals. And when we talk about heavy metals, I'm actually talking about heavy metals. So conducting, when they accumulate, they become their own conductors, right? So how do these heavy metals then, when they accumulate into our body, maybe into our kidneys or our pancreas or our brain, 10, 20 years later, how does it affect us? They've now connected Alzheimer's and dementia to toxicities in heavy metals, right? So
Powerful.
you don't feel right is because there's a possibility that you are hypersensitive to your environment. I mean, think about what you're doing, right? You're creating these podcasts that are hyper accumulating energies around you, right? So it's saying that you guys are people that are capable of accumulating energy, right? So if
Mhm.
you have heavy metals that are in your body that are accumulating, how does it affect your magnetic ability to attract other people that are in line with your values?
So that's exactly right. It's a good question.
So now we go back over to the growing aspect, right?
Right.
You start to align all these other aspects. You just end up naturally wanting to grow more with nature because in nature there is an instant gratification.
Right.
There's you. How do you appreciate? How do you value anything when you instantly get it?
Right.
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 Right. Right.
So
That's
living soil, you have to wait. You have to be patient, and it teaches
Right.
you about a little bit another aspect of life when you go with
Right.
that. When you go
the
that
Right.
work
direction.
it
Right.
too.
Right.
That living
Right.
soul
And I think that's the
keeps living.
direction I'm at. Where I'm at. You
Yeah.
know, the
Oh yeah.
quality so much better. And if something went wrong with my plants, which it rarely happens, it's more of so it needs something, and it's not something that it has too much of. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And in the beginning of my growing experience, I'm starting to kind of understand the soil pre-treatment to prevent the impact on heavy metals. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You want to speak about the soil pre-treatments that can
Absolutely. So if you guys haven't heard, I always talk about this one product, Drops of Balance. Um, Earlier this year, we just completed. This was the second of the first of its kind and first of its study in the cannabis industry, and one of 10 of these studies worldwide. This studies will be getting published in scientific journals in the next month or so.
Oh
So we're hoping to get cited in other, so that other people in agriculture use this study to help make decisions on either further testing or
yeah.
implementing and changing their growing practices. So this study was focusing in on what does pesticides, fungicides, and heavy metals do to the nutritional value of food and soil
Mm.
biology, and that was the focus on this study. Um, well, and could we remediate pesticides and fungicides and heavy metals off of the plant before it gets to the end consumer? So it was all around safety. It was all around focusing on trying to solve a problem, but then also we're measuring nutrient density. We're measuring cannabinoid concentration, terpene concentration. We're measuring terpene profiles, and
Wow.
we're all these other aspects, and we're getting tests every 2 weeks from putting the plant into the ground. So we're testing all the cannabinoids, all these various and pesticides, all these things from right there in the very beginning. And then every 2 to 3 weeks, pulling another test over a course of 5 months, and then also pulling tests after harvest. So it's such a comprehensive test that you know they am making it available. Point to this is that it we, I'm so blown away. I never realized how detrimental heavy metals and pesticides and fungicides can actually do to I'm not talking about the yield, but I'm talking about the nutrient density of the plant. And how we measure the nutrient density, in my mind, for this plant is cannabinoid concentration and and terpene profile. Not just terpene profile, but terpene, terpene concentration, but terpene profile is another aspect where I like to put it as the consciousness of the plant. So if you have a lot of terpene profiles, then the plant was able to collect its full wisdom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the terpenes, when you get high, are actually it guides the psychedelic experience.
The Turks?
The terps, yeah. The THC is the key, but the it's like the handle. The THC is like the handle to the key, but the terps are the little teeth that actually allow
Oh,
allow
wow.
the key to get to twist, if that makes sense.
It absolutely does. I have to ask you a
Right.
question. Hold on. It said Tico wanted us to ask, Tico Biosupply was sponsored by them. Shout out, Tico. They wanted us to ask you about your opinions on EDTA. What is that?
So EDTA and I believe it's DDETA. They're what chemical fertilizers use to chelate salts, so that they're taken up into the plant. Um, they're so So
I know
what
it's
all
deep.
this stuff is it's extra chemistry, right? And so we're talking about soil biology and the relationship between salts. I'm not if you want to use salts, I guarantee you they're going to put these types of chelators into the product to make so that the salts don't bind to themselves in the bottle.
Mm-hmm.
And like you go to a lot of if you left the bottle of fertilizer on your shelf for a year and you came back
Yeah,
and shook it, it would have all the salts would have had bind together on the bottom. You know what I
I
mean?
Right.
definitely do.
Right.
It actually like comes off the side of the bottle too,
On
like, and you didn't
the
spill any.
outside.
Like, how did it get here?
Exactly. And they're suspended in the water through the process. Well, the EDTA and all these chelating products allow these salts to not bind into the liquid of the water as quickly, and so they call them chelating agents, which then they supposedly also allow the salts to be taken up into the plant quicker, and so that's kind of like the way what is marketed to us.
All right. Now is that edible or is that safe?
Well, it's extra chemistry, right? So the biology's job is to detox the soil and fix, um, and to provide the specific minerals to the plant based upon the fermentation process that happens every day between the soil, the root relationship to the soil or the growing media. Um, so the point to all that is that the the soil biology is going to try to fix all the chemistry and make it safe for us. And if it can't make it safe, then it's going to store it in the trichomes, and we're going to smoke it. And it's going to be its next filter. We're going to be the next filtering process. If you look up right now, I mean, look up one of us warnings of EDTA in humans. I mean, if one of us, I mean, if people are on the, anyone that's on the channel, if one of you guys could just um, look at it and post a comment or something right here and say, what does it say? And let's figure it out together right now.
Right.
Pico said it's considered a carcinogen
Okay, so
in
it's
California.
cancerous right there.
Oh,
It's cancerous.
wow.
We just learned together. I love this shit.
Oh, wow.
And they're
So
putting it
how
in
is that?
our
How,
fertilizers.
how are they being able to, and they know this? They know this is dangerous? They just,
Yeah, well, we all just learned it was
Right.
dangerous.
So I'm pretty sure they know it's dangerous.
Fuck yeah, they know it's dangerous, man. And why is it allowed? It's because fertilizer companies, the agricultural community, and this is what my hope. I have been screaming this out to the point. If you go to all my channel on my YouTube, you'll see everyone's so tired of hearing this same fucking thing. But I'm screaming it out as loud as possible to build this awareness, so that the issue what cannabis did, being put under Prop 215, is that they started to treat this plant as a medicine versus as an agricultural commodity.
Gotcha.
And
Right.
when they did that, they sent this plant down a wormhole where this plant has to be, like, if you think about our pharmaceutical drugs, everything has to be measured out exactly.
Right.
It has to be perfect. It has to be an isolate, and
Right.
that's what it has to have no mold. It has all these crazy pharmaceutical standards
Right.
that now the plant is being put on.
Right.
Well, it's building an awareness of, like, oh, what's these pesticides on my plant?
Yeah.
What's
Right.
these fungicides on my, what's being used, right? So now these
Right.
chemical names are now starting to become household names
Oh.
in the grower community, right? So now they go over to they're driving down the road, and they see the farms, or maybe like a buddy invites them to a farm, and they see a sign where there's a skull crossbones, or they go into the fertilizer site and they look at a product, like, oh shit, they're using Eagle 20. What? I mean, why are they using that for the whole wine industry? That's actually super bad. Like, they
Right.
banned that for the cannabis industry.
And
Right.
You know what I mean?
wow.
So I'm hoping that this industry will build a level of awareness and scrutiny that it forces us as a consumer to start creating higher standards on our food, because
Right.
food is
Yeah.
actually our medicine.
Right.
It seems that
100%.
Canada isn't. They don't use a lot. A lot of things that are legal here are banned in like Canada and other countries. It's crazy that
Absolutely.
they'll let that stuff in, knowing to your own
Right.
population.
You go to
To your,
prison for using some of that stuff.
that's
Yeah. But
absolutely
this is
crazy.
that we. I mean, we're definitely a dumping ground for just
Yeah,
things that we need fast, and
we need you in
in
the
high
community.
demand. Right. Things in high demand are all altered, for instant gratification. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's
Stop
what that's
it.
what our podcast is for, representing. Now we kind of want to push the as be play our role in letting
Yeah,
people know,
there's
like
certain
some of the
things you're
stuff
doing.
you're growing with, your big buds and your trichomes, but what about 10 years from now? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
Hmm.
man. And
Um, what
sorry,
what
my
about the
friend.
people who you're giving this stuff to? Not only are you smoking, and I'm pretty sure a lot of these growers are passing, the smoke around, and it's just not helping anyone in the long run.
I'll throw you out a couple of things, right? So our family comes from long corporate business, and so there's always a couple of sayings that kind of are created to help get through to thick-headed board of directors, right? Because our family is
Mhm.
mostly on the operations side. So first comes experimentation. This is in all new industries. This is the path that all new industries take. So first comes experimentation, then comes litigation, and then comes regulation. So
Mhm.
that's what we're doing. We've went through the experimentation phase, and we're starting to go into the litigation phase, and we're seeing it happen right now, right? Where 8 years ago, because in Colorado, $10 million of edibles and pins were recalled off the market because it spiked in Eagle 20. Um,
What's Eagle
it,
20?
Eagle 20 is the main fungicide that is used in the wine industry, and microbutanol is the chemical name. And so it's used so every wine bottle out there that we drink is full of microbutanol, Eagle 20. They recalled $10 million of edibles because it spiked in Eagle 20 in the cannabis industry.
Oh my
I
God.
mean, it collapsed, 30, 40 companies overnight practically. Yet You cannot buy a wine bottle without it having 10 times the amount of microbutanol that it had in those tests for cannabis, right? So
Wow.
think about it like on those aspects, and I'm thinking, and that's what
That's
cannabis
so
is starting
bad.
to do.
They know exactly what they're doing. What is the reason they're allowing this shit into these products, man? And it's in every single. Pico said it's like in every single nutrient. I never knew this. That's
Well, they're doing it right because um, they're trying to mitigate integrated pest. They're trying to establish integrated pest management solutions to raise their crops. Yet they're not recognizing that the soil biology and reactivating the soil biology is 80-90% of the integrated pest management solution, right? So they're by them continuously dumping in the soil, the liquid fertilizer because everything's set up with liquid feed, and they can't and everything
yeah.
along these lines. It's now making all the soil biology dormant, which now all these billions of bacteria that are now normally zooping around, zimming and zooping around, are now like barely moving. So they
Whoa.
can't produce the enzymes that actually make these kill genes, like because they're starting to identify that these enzymes get started in the soil, and then they activate they allow the spore to hatch that's already existing on the leaf, right? So if
Hmm.
you increase the trace minerals to the living soil, and you reactivate the bacteria, because bacteria need coenzymes, and coenzymes are minerals, and then they're able to produce enzymes, the good enzymes. From that point forward, that is the main key to your integrated pest management solution. Then at that point, you just always stay in this relationship where you're not adding too much salt-based fertilizer because it makes it dormant, and you're allowing the bacteria to keep producing enzymes, which is what and so they're just trying to, and farmers don't know better, really. They're just go to the store and they're sold on whatever they're allowed to be sold. And all these agencies out there for organics and labels, they're all out for purchasing, like buying. Like, you go there, they have a package you could purchase to label your product Omni certified or organic, and they tell you, okay, well, just stay within these parameters, and and you're good to go. But if you go over and look at the parameters, these parameters can also be, if they go through the proper regulations and purchasing to get into the market, they can label their stuff as organic, but it's not any safer
Yeah.
than the chemicals they're using in the commercial farming.
Right.
You can grow vegetables and things without this stuff. Is it
Absolutely.
done to be
Right.
malicious?
You know, it's it's really, I when I really look at the bigger problem on this, I've asked myself, and I've asked myself on like super heavy trips too, like psychedelic trips. I just really and I just sit with that question,
Oh yeah.
right? I allow my brain it to go as dark as it needs to be, and then allow myself to come back into the light. And what it comes down to me, what I think it is individual greed on not on greed like I'm going to make money, but greed on the level of I have to make enough to support my family, right? And
Right.
and that level of greed, when you
That's an
break it
evolution.
up into, yeah, exactly, natural evolution,
Right.
exactly,
Yeah.
of the problem.
This is we need people like you. I feel like these are the type of people I tell on our show that we need. I'm not saying you run for president or anything, but with your knowledge,
Yeah.
man. I feel like
Yeah.
is it I think it's
That's what strikes me. Like, the knowledge is
how do
just
we got
dead.
people like this like talking about stuff like this, and then the governments they work and operate ass backwards. There's no reason for it if you know and you
Well, it's
on
giving
YouTube
it's
for a
giving
long
us a
time.
bad. I think it's giving us a bad look in the
It
end
really is.
because I mean, you think about where cannabis percentages were years ago. What 1% to what 37%? You know
That's
what I mean?
woo.
So what we knew then just gets flushed in the down the toilet now. This is kind of like something new that we're dealing with. Am I right? Because it's kind of like the percentages are going up. There's way up.
We
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
something
Is
called
that sorry?
our endocannabinoid system. Have you ever heard of it?
I've
I have.
been doing a lot of research on that.
Mhm.
Yes.
When you look into it, right? Like when I again deep diving into it, I realized that the our endocannabinoids are it's our
Yeah.
communication system. It really
Right.
is our communication system, right? And so
Right.
I like to think about it as maybe you're in a toxic relationship with someone,
Right.
right? And you're trying to have a conversation with the person, and it just starts to get heated super quick. What does anything of higher value come from the relationship,
That's something
right?
to
So
think about. Yeah.
I go back over to our gut biome, right? And we put all this good food, all these vitamins in our body, all this stuff going on. But when our gut biome's getting shut down, and we're not filling up our system with filling up our endocannabinoid system, saturating it.
Right.
How can it have a proper communication system to where nutrients and to where
Right.
our thought process
Mhm.
needs to go, right?
Right.
So
Right.
Yeah. Is it?
I know you
Yeah.
guys asked in the beginning this organic why do people not go organic? Well, I would say that once they become aware, right, of how they change individually as a person, as their core values begin to get established as a person, I don't think they ever go back.
Oh
Right.
wow.
You
Mm.
go what I mean? Unless through absolute necessity,
Right.
but I don't think they go back. I think it literally fundamentally changes us. It like helps us to get reprogrammed as a
Right.
person because it's made me a better father, right? It's slowed me down as a person overall,
Right.
you know, to be able to make wiser decisions versus making irrational or a phobo
Absolutely.
decision.
Right. Right. 100%.
I'm
Right.
very impulsive. I take cannabis
Right.
for a lot of reasons, including that
Right.
focus, help. So you think it's too much percentage in the THC volume is bad? Is that what?
No, and no. I think how we take in the medicine every day and us being more conscious of how we take in the medicine is better. So what I mean by that, because I talk all day long, right?
Right.
But what I do is I know my energy, right? And
Right.
I can I
Right.
don't want to share this story, but I know I'm a super high energy person,
Right.
and so if I want to connect more with my environment and more with the people around me, instead of burning everyone out, I need to slow my energy
Right.
down.
Yeah.
But I
Right.
also don't want to be sleepy slow down. I want to be a focus slow
Right.
down. And all
Right.
these things can be identified through the terpenes on the plant.
Right.
Literally, the terpenes will tell you, yeah, this you're going to have literally more of like like a indica focus experience, right? Or you can
Mhm.
Right.
have like a sativa energetic experience, right? So you can, and if you sit with the medicine versus just smoking, rolling it and smoking it, right? If you
Right.
just stop doing that, look
Yeah.
at the terpenes, and then smoke the medicine throughout the day,
Right.
because if you are considered a smoker, then you become more efficient at using your medicine. So instead of like other people
Yes.
take vitamins 3 times a day, why can't I smoke 3 times a day?
I
Just
know
the right
that's
vitamins.
right.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's right. 'Cause
I
what
try.
the cannabinoids do, what is just it's gonna hijack our system
Hmm.
and make it work. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
we're not getting it from some. It's an instant hijack. You know.
It is.
Yeah.
You hit it on the dot. You know, the next part is, see, so like the smoking is like the quick fix, right? I'm a big proponent actually on digesting full spectrum CBG as my key saturation a mechanism for saturating my endocannabinoid system,
Mm.
and then I smoke my weed throughout the day to stay at a level of artistic autistic creativity throughout the day,
Yeah.
Right.
right?
Yes.
Right.
So
Yes. Sorry.
that's what I do. That's how I use this medicine to
Right.
leverage my abilities to show up better for my family,
Right.
my friends, business,
Right.
uh, and whatever. And do my
Good.
best to stay away
Yeah.
for the pharma stuff, right?
Right.
So
Right.
You're a prime. Yeah. You're a prime example of weed doesn't make you kill brain cells. You are highly intelligent on a frequency that I am picking up. Like I'm just saying. Not, oh my God. I've
Right.
always watched you on YouTube. Now, I'm not going to fan out. I'm just saying,
Right.
I've always watched you on YouTube. I've watched you on here for very long. And some of the things that you talk about and you discuss, a lot of people aren't touching base. You dive deep with your guests. It's
Right.
one, your show was your podcast and your YouTube page is one of the most intellectual, stimulating things that I watch. Marcus
Right.
follows you for
I,
years.
and I get
I
I
mean,
get I get messages
I got
every
goosebumps.
time you post something. I get a message every morning basically. So you're constantly putting up content.
appreciate
Um
that, guys. I really do.
Man.
I really appreciate the
I
kind words,
have
man.
I have so many
Thank
questions,
you.
man, and I didn't even think we were going to even get into the endocannabinoid systems, and but that's
You,
a blessing. That's a
what
blessing.
story did you have? What story did you say you have you wanted to share? With
Well,
regard
it
to
well
that.
I this is 10 years ago. I went out to a party at a cannabis event. A lot of times, you know, there's a lot of different drugs at parties, right? Went out with had an Airbnb. You know, it I ended up having like 18 people at the party. Well, one of these gentlemen ended up, you know, having a large amount of powder at there, and for 3 straight days, it was a powder fest. And so the for me, I don't do that. I don't partake in any of these things. But for 3 straight days, all I needed to do was smoke just a little bit of sativa, and I was capable of writing along with them with only an hour of sleep while going to these 3 day canvas event
Oh,
situation. And I recognized at that point why at that point I had burned out so many of my relationships in my life is because I operated at such a high level of energy
yeah.
intensity that 17 people can be powdered out while all I need to do is
Right.
smoke a little sativa,
Right.
take 1 hour nap, and I'm writing along with them, understanding their full conversation and dialogue,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
and feeling rested and complete at the end of the
Yeah.
event. And so I
I
started to
wonder
realize
why
at
they
that
do
point.
that stuff. Go
Uh,
ahead.
well, I mean, you know, it's the issue with you know, I don't want to dive in too much, but if
You
you
can.
actually go
You
into these
can.
plants, it's, you know, the powder is a refined product. It's like having a refined THC where people are seizing out because they smoke it, right? But if you
What?
go
Right.
to the full spectrum powder, it's a pink color, right? So it has the
Right.
full terpenes of the
Right.
plant, and that's like it's like a crude. So all these plants we have. I mean, if you go back into our history of all these plants, we have relationships.
Right.
And all these plants feed our various endocannabinoid systems in various ways. The issue is the hyperaccumulation of one specific chemical in our body that then becomes toxic,
Right.
and that's the main issue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Oh,
you know,
wow.
and then do we overindulge? And we can overindulge in anything. If we overindulge in exercise, um, we
Well,
could
right.
you know,
Food.
I
whatever,
think
anything.
but
Food.
the overindulging
Everything.
comes with just the dependency, and also becomes like you got to meet it halfway. Me, I'm a big thing where you got to meet the cannabis halfway. You know what I mean? Like it's not gonna do it for you. Like you got to kind of, you know, eat better. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to kind of
Absolutely.
sleep,
Absolutely.
get better sleep. You know what I mean? When
Yes.
you're supposed to get sleep, you got to kind of have better relationships. Deal with stress better. You know what I mean? Stay away from stress. So and on top of that, it allows you to kind of see the better version of yourself. I mean, that's kind of how I see it.
What is this pink stuff? Hold on. What is this pink stuff you were talking about? I agree with you. I'm sorry.
No,
Did you say it
That's all
was
right.
pink?
if you go if you go overseas like to Colombia or something and met a shaman, he wouldn't have white powder. He'd have like a pink powder, and it's because of the
That's
the,
weed.
the terpenes of the plant. No, I'm
I was going to say, I've
it
never
it's
heard of it.
it's no it's the cocaine.
Holy
Um,
okay. I had to
yeah,
make
it's a
sure I
full
heard that
spec.
right. Okay.
Yeah, it's a full spectrum. Um,
Right, right.
and it's just I see I'm non-biased. Actually, believe it or not, what I did in the military, I was with I
You're in
did
the military?
I was actually, yeah, I was with the 212 pararescue up in Alaska, and I spent my time on the border against war on drugs and heroin specifically. So I've actually given over 200 Narcan shots and all kinds of heavy shit. So
Holy
point to this is
shit.
that I have no bias to to medicines out there. I've seen the worst case scenario to like all these things out there, and the issue is what it comes down to is the black market. That should Everything should be legalized. Everything should be regulated.
One
Everything
country
should
did,
have.
didn't they?
Well, it allows countries to figure it out, right? It allows a society to say, hey, this is not good. We need to create mechanisms to get to, and it becomes a situation where the society itself no longer condones it, right? It's
Right.
in
Right.
what we have a issue around the greed part of it that perpetuates the problem, and we
Mhm.
have an issue around the privatization of prisons that need to be filled because it's a corporation and a business. It's not a state-run organization constantly being looked at the budget to reduce it, but now it's looked at as a business and how do
That's
you
sick.
increase profits.
That's sick.
So,
Human beings. You want to lock human beings up to make money on them? Like, what? Well, let's just introduce slavery back into the freaking government and the legislation. Like, go out of your mind. Listen to what you're talking about. You,
well, you hit it on the dot when you really think about it, right? If
absolutely.
think about the psychology though, the fucked up psychology around this shit is where, and
Oh,
sorry to cuss, but the
no, it's
where
fine.
you
Fuck.
we have the highest prison population out there in the world. America has the highest prison population in the world, right? So when
Right.
Yeah, they
you
do.
when
They
you
do.
talk about that level, but you incarcerate a human being, and then you tell them, listen, we're taking away all your rights, but you know what we're going to do? If you come work for us, we're going to give you 4 cents an hour, and we're going to let you produce like $1,000 product,
Oh,
right?
thank
The
you, Master.
psychology
Thank
behind
you.
that, right? Like think about that. It's like,
Fuck
oh my
out of here.
God, yes, I get to get out for a day and work for 4 cents an hour. Jesus
Absolutely.
Christ, fuck
Are you out
yeah,
of
I'm
your
all in
mind?
for it. It's worse than slavery.
I'm not
It's
even
it's a
worth 5 cents.
I'd rather be a slave, so at least I'm aware of it.
Right.
Yeah,
You know
don't hide it.
what I mean?
Right.
Don't try to.
Like,
This isn't a freaking. It's like a gun coated with cotton candy. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like that's disgusting. When you're actually in there, and they prey on people that actually go in there who don't have resources, maybe not. Or sense of them in there could help them, but like at the end of the day, you are offering them to slave. I mean, all day. Listen, I was in trouble when I was younger. I've been in jail, been a trustee. The shit they want you to do, and we're not getting paid in jail. Like there is none of that. Like it's absolutely crazy, and I never knew. I never knew that people were actually getting rich off of this, man. That's a new form
yeah,
of
absolutely.
evil.
Yeah. Man.
That's a new
Again,
form of evil.
Google it right now. Google it. Put prison population producing NASA product.
Oh,
Do
oh
something.
yeah, for
So
sure.
What?
did
Right.
it? So one of you guys pop it up. And something should
Oh
pop
yeah,
up, if I
I
remember straight.
mean, they've been producing everything, man. For
Satellites or something. It
The
was
prisoners?
like,
License
yeah,
Plate started it. You know what I mean?
Yo.
License
yes,
Plate
yes.
started it. It was
What?
like, oh, they could do this, or
Right.
they could do anything. You know what I mean? But
For free. That's
for free,
disgusting,
yeah,
really. That's like child labor.
And the taxes of the people, all of us, we're paying for the system as well. So
Right.
we're paying for the system, we're paying for the products to get produced, we're
right,
paying for the labor,
right,
and the larger corporations are also getting taking advantage of the subsidies that are being given, the tax write-offs through this whole
right.
process.
And we're paying for the
Right.
people. We're paying for the people who's organizing all of this too.
It's a collective. We as a society have to fundamentally um,
And
not allow the propaganda that's being fed to us on a daily
Right,
basis through
right,
all of
right,
these organizations, all of
right,
these channels,
right.
all of them,
I
right,
don't
right?
believe nothing
And we had to not
anymore.
feed into it, and really just focus down on our own families and our own core values. And if we do that, then we're going to connect with other families that have similar core values, and then
That's
though our
right.
communities will grow into our nice gigantic humic layer that will be able to hold on to all the trace minerals, and then we'll be able to also grow as a society healthy. And it's going to take
right,
time, and it's not going to be instant gratification, but I
right,
think I can all be done through the growing of this plant,
right,
because it
right,
teaches us
Absolutely.
how to care more.
right.
Natural.
I'm 100% with you
Natural
on that one.
question. One last question. Because your mind is there. Where do you think the cannabis seed came from? I I asked myself, where did it just how does a seed be made? Well, then there's a question, how does the plant did the plant get here to power? It's just crazy.
Right. Well, right,
So
right, right. So let's. Yeah, I'm glad you brought him back to that because I got one question too after he's answered that
Yeah,
question.
man. Tell me what you
I
think, Mr. Garvey.
I
I want to know.
I I and I might lose a lot of viewership just by saying this, but I stand for this, and I found peace with this. So
Oh,
I do believe in a higher power, right? I look
absolutely.
around, I look at my ears of how the ears are perfectly built to capture sound. I look at
Right,
our body, our fingers, I look at the seeds, I look at the flowers, the
Mhm.
plants, the water. I look at how everything works right
right,
together. And
right,
I I do not see
We
the
don't have a
this
discount for AC.
this existence. I do not see this existence coming to be without the creativity of a higher power God. And I'm not going to put a
Um,
specific name on that, to each is their own. But what I do say is that I think if we look at the Bible and how it was described to us, how it was our creation, right? It's the
yes.
only thing that makes sense to me, because how could all these things be just evolve into it, right? It makes more sense that it was provided to us, and now it's our
I'm,
job to nurture it,
I'm
take
telling
care of
you.
it,
Yes.
and grow it. So
right,
that's my 2 cents on that.
right, right,
Thank you.
right,
I
right.
agree. That was my take on it.
I
I'm
mean,
done.
I
Disagree.
think we live. I think we live for the plants. Don't laugh at this
No,
analogy, but
don't laugh.
I think that we live for the plants, and the plants keep us alive in order to keep them alive. Because in the end of the day, we all go in the soil, in the ground,
From the
and
dirt.
in the dirt where the plants thrive. I mean, plants live a lot years and
Oh
years,
yeah,
and everything ends up in that soil. Anything you can think of
that's
ends
powerful,
up
man.
in the soil. So the plants kind of like are keeping us alive in order to keep them
It's
alive.
the truth. Symbiotic.
May I add on to something that you just said right there?
Yeah.
All right.
So I I think right now, I think about, let's say we our own domain, our home, right? And then I ask you, what would you think of if you invited someone to your home and they like just threw their feet up? They didn't take the shoes off. They just came
Yep,
in. They threw their feet up on the couch. You didn't really know them. They're not.
they're out of
They're
here.
not. Like what do you think of them, right?
You're right.
So
They're
I think
assholes.
about just people that for some reason don't care. So I think about that also as heaven, right? And I think about heaven, and I think about God, and I think because this is all me also wanting to be a better human being, right? So I think about all these things, and I
You're
think
on your
like,
way.
well,
You're on a
if
great
if
path,
God
bro. Sorry, go ahead.
created this, no, no, it's okay, it's all right. I get excited too. I love it. It's I think about him and I think like if God created this badass crib, right? It has everything we need, everything we want, right? And everything we could ever desire in life, and it's all there at our fingertips. And like he would probably create a world for us to figure out how to protect and how to value and how to take care of before he lets you into that crib, right? And
Absolutely.
that's how I think about Earth too, is this melting pot where we get these infinite chances
Oh,
to figure it out until we're refined enough to be like, okay, now I need you to, instead of being the sheep, I need you to be the shepherd, right? I need you to help bring in all these other souls into this domain. And I'm giving you I'm making you an angel, and I'm giving you the ability to nurture these 10,000 souls, and your job is to refine them, to bring them back, bring them to us, because we need even more angels,
right,
right? And so
right.
that's how I kind of think about it when you kind of were talking right there. It was like
You
this
get
is
it.
our
You
this is
get
our
it.
stomping ground
Right,
right now.
right.
The only planet, the only planet that really has sustainable life like us, man, like this is a gift. I'm happy to be alive.
Uh,
I appreciate that because I agree with everything you said. How
Hey,
long have we been on? How long have we
now
been on?
do it. Will a plant? Will it? This is a plant question that has been haunting me, and I
Hmm.
don't want to feel guilty as a grower from here on out. All right, but I heard it from somewhere. But I want to do things right. But then again, I don't want to be spoiled. You know what I mean? But will a plant be better with seeds? Will it have its highest quality with seeds
Uh,
So,
than if without seeds? Seeded bud,
what are you defining as quality?
the highest
anything that
quality
gets
of
me high.
plants cycle through its highest quality potential.
The with by seed, naturally, the plant will produce a larger yield and a higher quality almost every time if you actually if the seed has the genetic capabilities,
Mm.
and that and I'll bring up some examples for outdoor growers, and it was like, oh, that's bullshit. Well, okay, if you put a seed in at the proper cycle, because it has its natural pre-flowering cycle, and you align it with the lunar moon cycles, and you kind of understand that psychology around it, so you pick up an extra couple months, and it is never triggering the flowering cycle, and you write it right into a natural veg cycle, and then you throw it into flowering. That plant's going to to be able to naturally produce this yield. But if you have a clone, you have to have artificial light. You're going to have to nurture it from cutting to nurture it into a clone, put it into the ground, have proper soil. Versus like when it has a taproot, what happens is the taproot it's very strong, right? Taproots, I mean, they can drive up through concrete. So there's a mechanism right here on what this taproot does. So it keeps driving down further and further and further, and as it keeps driving further and further and further, these offshoot roots go out, becoming as an anchor to be able to take up more nutrients. And so then you have all the soil biology that lives in the first couple inches of the soil. Um, And so with the clone, what you're going to have is right when the root you plant the root, some of the roots are going to go downward, but it's never going to have the driving forces of a taproot. And then all of the roots are going to be traveling just through through that horizon of the first couple
Right.
inches. So it's when you
Mm.
think about the grow, like when you think about the aspect of the time in, time out, yield in, quality out, ROI, and all these other aspects, and you know what you're doing with seed, it ends up becoming on a number basis, because you're measuring it on a number basis as quality, be a
Well,
measurable, fair way of measuring it, I would say, from seed.
all right. Well, I was
Me
kind of
too.
going towards like a pollinated plant versus a non pollinated plant.
So
Sure.
if you pollinate the plant, then you're going to get a mixed shoot of seeds. Or do you mean after you select
I
the
mean,
seeds from there?
smoking a pollinated plant versus smoking
Well,
a non pollinated plant.
if you cross the genetics, then you're going to have a different terpene experience. And if you have a different terpene experience, then you no longer have the same way of testing, because it's a completely different type of plant and a different experience. So you can't judge it the same.
Got you.
Nah,
That's just me being very analytical on that thought.
I don't
Got
know if it says one more question. He says to rephrase the question, I don't know if you just answered this. Can pollinating a branch signal the plant to plant it finish the goal and to go all out?
In our group, from enough guys
What's
doing
up,
this test,
Mr. Rob?
it does look like that's the case. If you pollinate one little part of the plant, a little tiny bud in one specific part, and make sure to don't affect the rest of the plant, it from all of our testing of our internal groups and everyone redoing the same experiment. And when I say everyone, let's say 5 or 6 guys that have the ability to control this experiment, it does seem like it does produce a higher quality. Yeah.
Yeah, Miss Pearl, your own said, I have had some fire flower that was seedy. I swear I have. Me too.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a fantastic interview. We normally make 30 reels, but this is at least 50. So get used to seeing yourself for like
Yeah,
2 months, man.
definitely appreciate you.
Oh,
There,
thank you.
there's
You are
two
a legend.
products I'd love to mention.
Okay.
If it will, is genuinely drops balance. It's going to remediate your pesticides, fungicides, your heavy metals, and it's going to allow your soil biology to start to actually take hold immediately. And then we're coming out this year. We came out this year with a product called BAM, and it stands for Badass Microbes. But we're
That's
also
fire.
going
Sorry.
into the entire. It's okay. I love your energy. I really do.
Thank you.
Um, it we're going into the entire sector this year of bacteria, of how to produce your own bacteria at the house, how to make your own cheese, how to make rum, how to make bread, how to make, and it's going to come all from the segment of making your own badass microbes.
Seriously.
So
So, bud.
yeah, so it's two products I want to talk about and be aware of on the whole BAM sector of content that's going to come out this year. Um, I think we're really going to challenge the industry in another way this year.
Got you. We will
Thank
get
you
that
so
out,
much.
man. We appreciate you 100%.
We will definitely get everything you said out is going out. 50 reels. Let us work on them. Thank you for
Appreciate you guys
coming.
coming on. Thank you for your kindness. I appreciate it, seriously.
Anytime,
Canna
man.
Brothers.
I hope in the future we can get you back on. An hour is what we wanted, but hopefully, we can set up something in the future.
This is juicy,
And I will do a
man.
better job of just answering your question. You asked such a big question in the beginning. I I didn't know. I couldn't just say, "Yeah, grow organic. It's better."
No, right.
It
You
changes
covered it. You
your
covered a
soul.
lot.
You
But
covered
come back.
it. Yeah.
We
Yep,
love
you
you,
covered it.
man. None but love. We'll Canna Brothers over and out. Get ready and follow Mr. Perfect Gardens, man. Peace.